This is a Clouds weather alert.
Good late Tuesday, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center giving you the latest information on our weather forecast and those current conditions. First off, though, we're sitting just very warm for this time of night. Conditions you rarely see here in late February. We're about to be in March here in about a minute, but it feels more like April and May outside with these type of temperatures around that midnight benchmark. You see 71 there toward Tallahassee, 73 toward Jacksonville International Airport, 70 toward Keystone there, so you kind of get the idea. These temperatures are just so warm here for this time of year, as this record warmth is just going to continue here for the next few days across our region. Unfortunately, this type of pattern promotes severe weather from at least a national standpoint. Now, locally, more hazy, more uncertain, but nationally, really got to be staying alert. I am very concerned for our neighbors to the west and somewhat concerned for our neighbors to the north here as well. Some concern for our area, but the details again are just a little bit too murky to really get into here at this point. I'll try my best, but just kind of giving you an idea of what's going on here. You can kind of see that we're starting off March now, as we did get past that midnight hour with the fire danger around, really, with that rainfall not coming into the picture too much. Maybe a little bit more toward the weekend, though. Saturday for areas toward north central Florida looks to be the rainiest day. Friday out toward the west here. Friday's severe threat may be a little bit more intense. Saturday's threat could be kind of more hit or miss if something develops here, maybe in north central Florida. We'd have to be paying attention. But just kind of setting the stage here for more information that we're going to provide for you here in just a moment. As again, we're just looking at our area here. Things look pretty calm. I mean, you don't see any action on the radar around here. And I'll go ahead and move things around. In fact, I mean, we'll kind of go ahead and move things around in a second. First off, I'm going to go ahead and go on over to our graphics, actually. I'm going to go ahead and show you here those outlooks that are just getting into what would consider day one, really. As we get toward the east, it would be considered day one. As we're in that Eastern time zone, still day two as we're before midnight, still just 11 o'clock central in the central zone, but you kind of get the idea here on things. Just going to be starting to get nasty. A slight risk of severe weather on that Wednesday toward areas like Little Rock, Memphis, Greenville, Mississippi, even there are parts of that Arkland mess included. So what is you kind of paying attention to that there with the overall concern. Arklatex there too. Could get some isolated tornadoes. It's more conditional on Wednesday, but Thursday's the bigger threat here that we'll need to be talking about. That's why I have it highlighted really in red, outlined in red, because we're really concerned that risk probably get even higher than what's already pictured here. We had that moderate risk back on Sunday in Oklahoma. We were on 4. That wasn't moderate for the tornado threat, even though we ended up getting some tornadoes to really evolve on us toward Norman, Oklahoma, for instance. A deadly tornado out towards Cheyenne, Oklahoma, it appears. So you get the idea. This is going to be more significant than that, it looks like. And you see the geography here. It's looking like it's going to cover a pretty wide space with at least that threat. Of course, not everybody's going to see a tornado in there. Most areas, just as tornadoes generally do, would be missed. But the areas that get hit by tornadoes, some of those could be really significant. So talking about EF2 plus in terms of those winds. So well over 100 miles an hour a possibility. So it's important to be prepared here as we look at this. We just got to be kind of prepared, and we'll get more into toward that severe threat here from the national standpoint in just a moment. But locally, again, you see our readings, the latest updates just coming on out here with the METAR stations, and in some areas reporting fog, especially down toward Ocala there, getting down outside the area, and Inverness there, and also toward Hernando County around Brooksville there. You kind of get the idea. So just always interesting to get an idea of some of these observations here as I go ahead and zoom on out. You can kind of see here we're looking at some of the temperatures to the north and a little bit cooler, especially toward areas North Alabama, North Georgia, Carolinas. We're seeing some cooler air, but really not that cold until you get further up in the northeast. You see the colder air they've had up there, and even some snow as I switch it over to winter mode here real quick. See some of that snow there in parts of Maine right now. So just interesting to see that here from that standpoint. As they go down toward Texas, you see these temperatures just so warm for this time of night, Louisiana, and we're just going to be seeing all those factors potentially come together. Some of our models, again, are really painting a pretty nasty picture here as we look ahead later on in the timeline. Again, just to reemphasize that threat for Thursday really looks intense here, talking about areas Dallas, Waco there, getting up toward areas of southeast Oklahoma, towards Little Rock, over toward Memphis, down toward Greenville and Jackson, and then in toward Louisiana. We're talking about areas like Shreveport, Ruston, Monroe, Alexandria. You kind of get the idea. Just have to really be cognizant of what's going on here in this type of threat. We really need to be paying attention here from the national standpoint. Got to have multiple ways to get alerts here as we see that Friday threat, including parts of our area. Most of Georgia and the counties that we cover there are included in this. I know while the threat to the west is very concerning, the local risk uncertain. We have the logo red mainly for that national threat, but definitely could be justified for the local threat too if things come together the wrong way. But I have some kind of questions here is a good way to describe it. My thinking right now, because if the storms don't develop to the south where some of the models are thinking that could be the case, and we wouldn't get as much of a severe threat, but if they do develop, the area storms could be severe or tornadic. We really got to watch in South Georgia. It looks like here, but I actually think the highest danger based on some of our high-risk guidance, maybe more just across Alabama and north and central Georgia, but it's still too early to know for sure. And regardless of the rainfall amounts, which may not be overwhelming for a lot of folks, I mean, really not overwhelming for anybody, but not really enough in terms of the drought conditions for many folks. The wind could really be a problem Friday, maybe gusts there 30, 40 plus miles an hour outside of rain, and that could lead to a wildfire threat. So we're really got to be careful. If you don't have that precip, or even if you just have a little bit, you can't really be messing around here because these winds could take a fire and spread it very rapidly. So you got to be really careful in this type of setup here as we look ahead with these windy conditions, the dry ground here, that can be problematic for folks. So as we go ahead and see the tornado safety tips, though, again, there's an extreme concern, in my opinion, nationally for later Thursday through early Friday. So if you're there, talking about areas like Dallas, over toward Little Rock there, down towards Shreveport, Monroe, you really have to be careful. You got to be staying alert. And the tornado warning threat probably coming into play for many of these spots. Tornado watches, though, no doubt, going to have to be issued here as conditions will be favorable for that tornadic activity out toward the west. Maybe even some with special tagging here. It's a little early to know this for sure if this is going to happen, but there's a chance we could get what's called a particularly dangerous situation, tornado watch, or maybe even more than one of those issued for areas out to the west because it is the extreme and elevated danger of stronger tornadoes. So it's important that people in these areas are ready to go. They need to seek something that's tied that sturdy building, and it's preferable to not be in a mobile home in a tornadic situation because those can really be dangerous, if not deadly places to be. If the wrong kind of winds come through, it could completely rip those structures apart. So it'd be best to have alternative plans there. Just have many walls between you and the outside as possible. You just got to also protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet when you have a tornado coming through, or a football helmet. And then also even have shoes on after the fact. That'd be something good to do. You need to make sure you have those shoes ready to put on because if you have damage around, you don't want to cut your feet up on the broken glass, the debris, things of that sort. So just got to be really careful here as we look ahead in the timeline. And then wanted to put this in here because I know March 3rd, you see that on here. That's not what this picture is from, but it's just one of the last 6 dates that FSU was under a tornado warning. March 3rd, 2019 was a terrible day toward East Alabama. And guess what Friday is here, unfortunately, is March 3rd. So could have a situation where you have some type of threat to the south, but maybe the bigger threat focuses on areas toward the north there. East central Alabama, west central Georgia, you never know. That's not saying that that's going to happen exactly in that spot, the biggest threat, but just kind of give you guys an idea that March 3rd is a day that has been problematic for us before, and this March 3rd could be again. So coverage area, of course, will be on for any tornado warning storm to move through any one of our 62 counties. Any one of our 62 counties will be covered here with live updates from the Weather Center, of course. The continuous coverage that we provide here with the stream going, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. But also, just keep in mind also the national coverage that we do for select situations will likely be required here for areas off toward the west based on the model guidance. We're seeing our high-res guidance really painting the higher significant tornado parameter values. That depend a little bit on storm mode, because if we don't get the supercells to develop as much, it could limit the higher end tornado threat some. But I know back on that March 3rd, 2019, it didn't matter. It did not matter, because eastern parts of Leon County there, we had an area that was just part of a squall line, really. Wasn't necessarily out all by itself or anything. We got an EF3 tornado from that there, one of the strongest tornadoes to ever hit Leon County. So just seeing one of those dates where we had a tornado warning issues for FSU. FSU was fine from a tornado actually hitting that day. And even today where this picture's from, that was just because of the saturated ground there and some of the wind. You get the idea. We just got to always be kind of cognizant as we look at those rainfall forecasted amounts here. Weather Prediction Center painting this picture well. You see Western Tennessee around Memphis getting quite a bit of rain here. Maybe 3 inches, maybe a little bit more than that even, toward areas there in that part of the country. And you see parts of central and northern Arkansas also getting 2-3 inches of rain. So just got to be kind of cognizant here. Again, that bullseye around Memphis there, where we're going to be seeing values in excess of 3 inches. It looks like, some of those colored axes represent closer to 4, maybe even 5 inches if the wrong conditions come together. And you see our local area here toward North Florida, South Georgia. I know when we're not on for local national concerns, you can go to cloudweather.com/radar for the latest look at things. But these local amounts you see as I look at the color table, I know it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, going from one green to another, one blue to another here. But as we kind of look, we're talking about maybe spots that are 1/10 to 1/4 inch in quite a few areas of the region, but then maybe a little bit of a focal point toward more central Florida as things kind of stall out a little bit. As we look ahead maybe towards Saturday, that could lead to us getting more like 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain, with some areas there maybe closer to the nature coast getting closer to 3/4. For some local areas, it could more or less, but this is just giving you guys a general idea of what to expect as we do look ahead. And then here's your fog safety tips, because we've got to watch out for that for tonight. And we have that just those warmer temperatures still around at night, causing this potential. You're going to slow down and give yourself extra time to reach your destination. Make sure your vehicle is as visible as possible to other vehicles by using your low beam headlights, and leave plenty of room between you and the vehicle in front of you. So just always important tips to keep in mind here in these type of situations. I know sometimes they can affect, these conditions affect your antenna, your TV antenna, so if you have any issues with that, that's something to keep in mind too. Just the overall setup here in the atmosphere can get tricky, tropospheric ducting, and the like. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind. I know we were getting some interesting channels here toward North Florida back there on Monday morning in the wee hours. TV channels were coming in at one point from West Palm Beach and Fort Myers in the southerly direction, and then in northern direction there all the way from Savannah. It was a pretty quick scenario for that Savannah station and the cluster that was coming in West Palm Beach, but a little while longer for Fort Myers actually coming on in. So it's just interesting from a meteorology and a nerdy, I guess you could see, a scientific standpoint. But as we go ahead and say now that planning forecast for the next 7 days, you're talking about Wednesday here, maybe a little bit of rain. We saw some high-res guidance there, painting a little bit more of a rainfall picture for areas towards South Georgia with a storm maybe developing. Nothing overwhelming, but I'll be watching just in case something gets a rogue warning. I'm not expecting that to happen. That's not what the forecast is for, but sometimes those parameters overlapping with just a little bit of development, we could get a rogue stronger storm at least. And then Thursday, we'll be kind of keeping our eyes on that threat here. But as we look more toward Friday, Saturday, that's when we're going to be focusing here on maybe windy conditions, and then that severe threat, which is a little bit more conditional for our area versus other areas of the country, which looks a lot more serious. But still could be serious with warnings, maybe even tornado warnings issued for parts of our area if the wrong conditions come together. But you can see here temperature dropping off some towards Saturday afternoon, some of that rain around too toward north central Florida could play a role in that. But then Sunday, upper 70s, so a little bit of that warm weather relief. I mean, these temperatures have just been crazy here lately for this time of year, and we're still going to be above average by a pretty good bit, as you see, especially for those highs. Sunday morning, that average low there, pretty close to what we're going to expect. Same with Monday morning, but it's just going to be a picture here. We're going to be warming back up and not really seeing that warm weather relief here as we look here further on. I know there's different events that go on, and the weather could impact some of them. Gate River Run in Jacksonville could be impacted Saturday, and then it's getting pretty far out there to see how the weather would be for the Players Golf Tournament, for instance, here as we look ahead a little bit further. There's quite a few events still in March now that we're now officially in March, and there's going to be a lot of events here to track the weather for, but one that's really just kind of in the focal point here right now and in focus is the Gate River Run. We could have some issues on our hands in terms of some inclement weather, so we'll be watching all that here for you, and the Weather Center, all that potential here. It's not an overwhelming threat, and if there's not lightning, they might be able to keep going in a run. I'm not 100% sure on the rules, but then, of course, if there is severe weather or warning potential, then that could change things a little. But we're hoping things will hold off for that at this point with a 50% chance versus something higher. As we go ahead and go back to our other map now, you can kind of see here what's going on across the country. These temperatures, again, just so warm. I mean, it's March 1st, still February 28th, not toward that central zone, but you get the idea. These temperatures, we're not supposed to be seeing a picture like this time of year. They zoom out a little bit more. It's a different story out west. You see the cooler air out there, and that's kind of in the pattern. But eventually, some of the cooler air, not in our next 7 days, but later on than that, may work its way closer toward our area. That's some of the indications we're getting here, and some of the longer range guidance. So that could be kind of a pattern change for us that we'll need to track. Of course, we'll do that for you. I know, interesting, out toward Oklahoma, they just had pretty record-setting times here in terms of tornadoes this time of year recently, and hopefully we don't get that to continue here for them necessarily. We saw another outlook I was talking a moment ago, southeast Oklahoma under the gun on Thursday. It looks like it may be lingering into early Friday. We'll be watching that potential as well. So let me go ahead and I'll leave you with that graphic. Now I think this will be the best one to leave you with, just to reiterate that potential here. Thursday outlook is really for late Thursday and early Friday here with the highest level of concern. So, or at least later Thursday. I don't want to say the threat could start and really get bad even before sunset. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be a threat here that's maybe overwhelming in the morning hours of Thursday. But we'll just continue to be paying attention. We'll be on with special coverage here. Hopefully not on Wednesday. Later today, hopefully that won't be required for anything nationally or locally. I know there's no thunderstorm outlook around here, but some of our high-res guidance is picking up on some stuff in southwest, south central Georgia. That's why I put 20%. But hopefully we don't have any severe weather to deal with that we have to be on for today on that Wednesday. As again, we're past midnight, which makes that day one in some ways. But then on Thursday there, that's probably going to be something that we'll need to be on for on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch. I know you can go to youtube.com/@cloudsweather, for instance. Use that @ there, @cloudsweather, and get a stream there, or some other platforms as well. Maybe the one that you're on even is something you just want to stick with. That will be on all of them here on Thursday. That's the plan anyway, as long as the threat is overwhelming enough. If it was more conditional, I might stick more to YouTube and Twitter. But right now it looks pretty nasty here. We'll just continue to watch, continue to track things here in the Weather Center. But I know cloudweather.com/Severe gives you the latest convective outlook updates. We'll get some of those in here in the overnight hours. I'll be retweeting some of that or posting about some of that here in the days and hours ahead. So we're just kind of checking on all that here for you as the situation does transpire. Have a great night out there. Stay safe and stay informed of the latest information, especially if you're in that area there outlined in orange.